Okay, it's Wednesday, so it's time to answer the question of the week. And this week's question comes from Camp Creek. And it's a rather long, detailed question that is going to be difficult for me to answer in a 2 or 3 minute piece. But I'll try to do the best I can. And he was asking how to take 150 or 160 acres and make it the best that it can be, because he gets a lot of good summertime pictures, and then as the fall progresses, he's not getting as many pictures, and he feels like the deer don't live on his land as much. And anytime I go into a farm, and I've got a couple farms, one's an 80, another one's a 120, and I try to make them, they're not part of my main farm, but I try to make them as appealing as I possibly can. But I always recognize the fact that it may or may not be part of a target animal's home range. In other words, through the years, I've owned them for a while. I've seen years where I had big bucks that were there, and then we'd go and have success and kill that deer, and then he's gone the next year, and then it may take 2 or 3 more years before a buck that's calling that part of his home core grows to the stage that you're looking to harvest him. So you have to look at a small farm over the long term. You have to make it as appealing as possible. I increased the cover on both of those farms by planting warm season grasses. I way overdid it on food. I've got beans, I've got green fields, you name it, I've got food, and I've set them up for a variety of different wind directions. But most importantly, with a small farm, I make sure that I have good access, and then I only hunt that stand or that field when the wind is correct for that access. I think the biggest damage you can do to a small piece of property is to hunt it too often. I'm very limited on when I'll go into those 2 small farms, and I'm very disciplined on what wind direction I'll go in there on. I always have a destination food source right in the middle of them. That's part of the strategy. I think you want to put as many deer in the center of that property as possible, and then hunt the outskirts so that you can hunt that fringe style of approach. You never want to penetrate in, especially if the wind's not correct. The other thing I do is I put a variety of stands around that perimeter, and I want to hunt it when the wind is correct on that perimeter. So you've got to make it as appealing as possible. Your particular problem, Camp Creek, was the fact that it's good early season and not late season. Well, you may want to put food source or a food source in there that makes it more appealing late season. Standing beans are always good. The new winter bulb and sugar beet mix from Biologic is very good. If it was my farm, I'd make sure I had something that was appealing to them throughout the season. There's a new product we came out with called The Last Bite. That will help. There's other things you can do if it's not appealing in the late season, and that's try to increase the cover. Timber stand improvement might be in order, but to do that, I would get a professional in there to give you some advice as to whether you do want to do timber stand improvement, because you don't want to go in there and cut a bunch of trees if you don't have many trees. Excuse me, but the best thing you can do is warm season grass, increase the cover, limit the access, and load it to the gills with food. Put as much food in there as you possibly can and make that farm appealing. But keep in mind, it's a big picture, and it may or may not be appealing to a certain deer or an aged deer that's only coming there during parts of the year, but you may grow some deer that eventually call that their home core. And those are the years that you got to take advantage of it. So good luck.